pressure to have sex is a killer of sexual desire. The more pressure you put on the sexual act, the less enjoyable it is. Hi, my name is Dr. Amani Zarroug. I'm a clinical psychologist and a relationship and psychosexual therapist, and I'm going to answer some of the most prevalent questions about sex on the internet.
DEEP Xtra.
Can you fix bad sex? Yes, you can fix bad sex. Sex is bad, I guess, if you're not enjoying it, if there's pain. All of those things can be changed, and especially if you know what you think is good sex, and you can create that situation, either like through talking about it or through physically orchestrating it while you're having sex. Checking in with people during sex is also something I highly recommend that is not done enough. Are you okay? Okay, if sex is so important, does it make sense to sleep on the first date? What we're assuming here is that sex with the same person is the same sex. It isn't. Let's say two people meet and they have sex on the first day. That sex is going to be different than the sex that they have 6 months into the relationship, or if they even had sex 6 months later after meeting, right? Because we'll know more about each other. We maybe feel more relaxed with each other. Sleeping with someone on the first date may have nothing to do with that person. It may be to do with us. For me, what's more important here is like safety. Safe sex, safe environment, consent. Other than that, I think there's no right answer about when do you have sex, when you're ready. Is it okay to not have an orgasm? Yeah, of course, it's okay not to have an orgasm. Ideally, sex isn't goal-orientated. It's part of like enjoying the experience. So often we focus on the orgasm. And sex can be really enjoyable without having an orgasm. Again, this is a question where it's like, it's okay if it's okay with you, you know? There's a condition called anorgasmia. A person really struggles or cannot have an orgasm. Often people who can't orgasm in a relationship can orgasm on their own. But there are some people who also find it difficult to orgasm on their own.
Do you think there is more pressure on men in terms of the orgasm?
Statistically, men orgasm more, especially on first-time encounters. I think the tendency is there are more women who are lying to men, which is a shame, because then men believe that they're like really, satisfied her when they haven't, or they want it to end, and so therefore they pretend. There is pressure on men, but I think what tends to happen, let's say in a delayed ejaculation where it lasts a very long time, people will maybe take breaks. The sex will last longer. So even though the pressure is still there, we kind of allow more time for that to happen. Why does sex with the same person change? We change in a relationship. I think in the beginning there's a lot of dopamine, it's very exciting, you're working with a new body, and I feel like this question is suggesting that it gets worse. The antidote to that is to really talk about what would make it better for you, and to see if the person that you're having sex with is interested in that.
But do you think that actually sex with the same person with time can get better as well?
I do think it can get a lot better, yeah. When people start to have sex more often with each other, they can get more comfortable, and they can start to experiment a little bit more. Also, they can create different scenarios, they can be in different places. So I know that this question assumes it will get worse, but I think it can also get a lot better. Okay, do open relationships work? Yes and no. They can work very well. It depends what you want, what the purpose of an open relationship is. I think they are inherently more complicated, and they need even more good communication, and they need self-management of jealousy and other difficult emotions. But they can work because they can offer a solution to what the issues, the cons that come with monogamy.
What do you think about someone who's kind of on the, if I can call that, like on the receiving end of an open relationship?
If this is something that you don't want, flirting with it is not a good idea, because you're likely to get hurt, especially if you're not ready to acknowledge those things to yourself. Keeping your own boundaries is very important. So if someone presents this to you, you have to be confident in what you feel, in how you feel about it. So many times we go in and out of the same relationship. Everyone around us probably knows and it's not okay.
Can someone being in an open relationship suddenly fall in love and then that's it doesn't work anymore?
Well, it depends what style of open relationship you have. So if you're in an open relationship that allows for multiple loves, then that's kind of within the bounds of your agreement. I think that, of course, you can fall in love. You can't control your emotions.
Well, I was going to say, how can you stop yourself from falling in love?
Yeah.
How can you put a boundary on that?
You can't control your emotions. What you can do is control your actions. It's not like love comes and hits you like a truck, yeah? What do you do with that? What do I do with this information about myself? Do I continue communicating with this person? You know, do I put myself in situations that might be a little bit compromising with them? Or do I decide, you know what? I think I might be starting to feel something. That's not really the safest thing to do for me in this thing. Maybe I need to think about what they are offering me, what they're sparking inside me that I'm craving, and discuss that with my partner. How do you keep intimacy after having kids? So I love how we always say intimacy when we mean sex. Yeah. So obviously having kids is a major, major adjustment, and I think we need to be realistic about the time that it takes to acclimatize to a new human being. Having said that, I often find that people assume that once they have children, they've lost their sexual selves, and that isn't true. The mother has to relearn her body. Adjusting to that is part of then being able to have sex. Often we forget about the needs of the parents. If we can focus on that, then sex is a likely byproduct of that. What do I do if I want to have more sex than my partner? In a relationship where there's one person who wants to have more sex than another, every time the person with less desire is met with rejection, if they respond in a positive way, okay, that's fine. What would you like to do instead? These people this couple is 4 times more likely to have sex than when the rejection is met with negativity like anger or sulking. The pressure to have sex is a killer of sexual desire. The more pressure you put on the sexual act, the less enjoyable it is. That's what I would recommend for someone who wanted to have more sex with their partner, is to really be curious and try to understand what's happening for the partner. When the quality of sex is good, the frequency increases naturally. Is it okay to masturbate? 100% yes. This I have no dilemmas about. Masturbation is good for your skin, it's good for your heart, it's good for your immune system, it's good for anxiety reduction, and it's also amazing for learning about what you like in your body, and then that will translate into having better sex.
But is it okay to masturbate in a relationship?
I mean, I think yes. I think it is, but that depends on also, I think that's a conversation between people, because the question is, what does it bring up for you if your partner masturbates? What does that mean, you know? It can become complicated when it's instead of having sex. But if it's in addition to, then it can be good actually for the relationship. Okay, is it okay to watch porn? Yes, it's like any tool. It's useful or harmful in the way that you use it. Like any technological tool, you know, it can distract you from whatever else is happening in your life. So it's about finding a balance. I think that watching porn with someone that you know you may be having sex with is a really great idea, and it also might give you ideas and things to talk about, and you know it can enhance your sexual relationship. But if it's this like hidden cloak and dagger, shameful, then you're also not really having a healthy relationship with yourself, and I think that can translate. Should someone disclose their transgender during dating, and at what point should they do that? This is a tricky one because it's highly dependent on how the transgender individual feels. There's pros and cons to when to disclose, and this is always an issue. Firstly, there's a question of, do I pass in the gender that I am? Do people recognize me? Disclosure may or may not be more important then. Obviously, the dilemma is, am I lying to this person by not telling them? Also, does it have anything to do with them? Do they need to know? At what point? Obviously, depending on potential surgeries that someone has had, let's say they've had top surgery and they haven't had bottom surgery, then if sex is, genital and penetrative, then, or that's the expectation, then maybe they might need to disclose before then, because they're going to be disclosing anyway. Disclose other things initially and test the waters with how they receive it and whether or not they're judgmental, and then decide. Because in this question, there's two people to protect: the transgender person and whoever else they're thinking of disclosing to.
If you're on dating app, should you put that on your profile?
If you are comfortable in your trans identity and proud of it, then yeah. Then you're only getting those people. You're filtering out a whole bunch of people.
Baby Reindeer, the Netflix show, and there's obviously like a line with the main character and his relationship with the woman who he's really attracted to, and she's transgender, and he's kind of denying this attraction in a way.
He is exploring his sexuality.
Yeah.
And when we explore our sexuality, we will kind of do things that are maybe outside of our comfort zone and see what comes up for us. And I think there is some transphobia there, because he's not comfortable with his own desire, and he's kind of hiding her, and that sort of thing. And we know where transphobia comes from. We know that it's prevalent in society, so he's internalized that. And yeah, I think it brings up questions of, am I man enough, masculine enough? And we have all these ideas, what does it mean to be manly? He was dishonest with her from the beginning. He gave her a different name because he's trying on a new identity. And he obviously was working a lot out in that relationship.